The first record did not come with alarms or flashing lights. It arrived like many other small data fragments, buried inside a long stream of trade reports, sensor logs, and routine patrol notes. No one noticed it at first, not because it was hidden, but because it looked unimportant. A junior analyst named Rilton skimmed through the data during the quiet cycle of the station. He worked in a wide room filled with floating screens and low-humming machines. The room was shared by many species, but at this hour, only a few were awake. Rilton was careful, slow, and bored. That boredom saved him. The fragment was a name, Baba Yaga. Rilton paused. He did not know why. The word did not match any known language in the Coalition database. It was marked as human origin, old cultural reference. The system suggested it was a myth. Myths were common among humans. They named many things after old stories. Rilton almost ignored it. He tapped the fragment and pulled its source. It came from a damaged archive taken from a destroyed relay station near the outer spiral. The relay had gone silent 2 cycles ago. The official report said it was a power failure, but this archive fragment had survived. Bouncing through emergency channels before landing in Coalition storage, the name appeared only once. No image, no description. Just a line of text, broken and incomplete. Baba Yaga is active. Rilton felt a small chill along his skin ridges. He told himself it was nothing. He marked the fragment for later review and sent a routine notice to his supervisor. Then he returned to his work. Within 1 cycle, the fragment was flagged by 3 different systems. The Coalition intelligence. Council met in a circular chamber high above the central star. Light from the star passed through the transparent walls and painted slow-moving patterns across the floor. Representatives from dozens of species were present either in person or through projection. The mood was calm, professional, and slightly tired. Names were exchanged. Reports were shared. Border disputes were discussed. Then the human file appeared. "This is likely a cultural reference," said a tall delegate from the Kesh Union. "Humans often use old legends as code names." "It has no strategic value," several others agreed. The name had no fleet marker, no weapon signature, no known class. Then the human seat activated. Dehan stood alone at the center projection. He was not tall by Coalition standards. His posture was relaxed, his hands at his sides. He wore a simple dark uniform with no decorations. His face showed no fear, no pride, no anger. "I advise against further investigation," he said. The room went quiet. One delegate made a soft clicking sound, a sign of amusement. "You advise us not to study a word?" Dehan nodded once. "Yes." Another voice joined in. "Is this a threat?" "No," Dehan replied. "It is a warning." Warnings were common in the Coalition. They were usually followed by long explanations, legal terms, and compromise offers. This one was not. The chair-being of the council leaned forward. "Explain." Dehan took a slow breath. "Some human systems exist outside standard doctrine. They are not fleets. They are not weapons in the usual sense. Baba Yaga is one of them." A soft wave of interest moved through the chamber. "You expect us to accept this without evidence?" the Kesh delegate asked. Dehan's eyes moved across the room. "I expect you to listen." Silence returned. He continued. "There are names humans do not use lightly. This is one of them. If it appears in active records, it means a response has already begun." "Response to what?" someone asked. Dehan did not answer. The council ended the session shortly after. The official conclusion stated that the fragment would be studied at a low priority level. No alerts were issued. The human warning was recorded and set aside. Dehan left the chamber without another word. On a smaller station, orbiting a blue-white star, Hannah Lee watched the council feed end. She was a historian by title, but her real role was more complex. She studied patterns. Human behavior patterns, especially those that confused others. She had been young when she first heard the name Baba Yaga, not as a weapon. As a story, Her grandmother had told it in a quiet voice, late at night, as a warning to behave. The story changed each time, but the meaning stayed the same. Baba Yaga was what came when rules were broken too far. It did not shout. It did not explain. It simply arrived. Hannah closed the feed and opened older records. Human military archives were mostly sealed, but cultural overlaps were harder to hide. The name appeared in songs, old books. So warnings passed between units during early space expansion: never wake her, never call her, if you hear her name. It is already too late. Hannah leaned back and felt a slow weight settle in her chest. The council did not understand humans. They thought fear came from power displays. Humans knew fear came from certainty. Elsewhere, far from Coalition space, a deep-range listening post went silent. There was no explosion, no distress call. Its beacon simply stopped transmitting. Automated systems tried to reconnect. They failed. A patrol drone was sent. It returned with partial data and no crew. The drone's internal clock showed missing time, back in Coalition space. Analysts began to notice small gaps. Trade routes that lost contact for minutes at a time. Sensor shadows where nothing should be. Ships that arrived early or late. No clear reason, each event alone meant nothing. Together, they formed a pattern. Realton saw it first. He compared star maps and timestamps, then overlaid human expansion routes from decades earlier. His hands shook as the image formed. The gaps traced a slow curve. Through space, a hunting path. He submitted the report with high urgency. The response came quickly this time. An emergency session was called. This time, the chamber was full. Dehan was already there. "We have detected anomalies," the chair being said. "Explain." Dehan looked tired. "You are seeing the edges," he said, "not the center." "What is Baba Yaga?" someone demanded. Dehan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady. "She is what humans send when we cannot afford a second mistake." Fear spread through the chamber. Not loud, not fast, but deep. No alarm sounded, but across the galaxy. Something old and patient was moving, and its name had been spoken. Fear did not arrive all at once. It came slowly, like cold, moving through metal. At first, the Coalition tried to explain the strange events with normal words. Sensor drift, delayed signals, human equipment errors. These explanations were written into reports and shared between offices. They sounded reasonable, and that made them dangerous. Hannah Lee watched this from her station with growing concern. She had seen this pattern before, not in space, but in history. When humans faced something uncomfortable, they often wrapped it in calm language until it was too late to unwrap it. She requested access to older records, not military files, but stories. Journals from early explorers, letters from frontier colonies, debrief notes that were never meant for public release. Many of them mentioned strange solutions to impossible problems, solutions that did not fit standard logic. Again and again. The same idea appeared. Humans did not always respond with force. Sometimes, they responded with inevitability. At the Coalition Center, analysts tried to map human behavior using probability models. The models failed. Humans did not escalate in clean steps. They waited. They observed. And when they moved, the outcome was already decided. A senior analyst from the Clade spoke during a briefing. Humans are inefficient. Their fleets are smaller than projected. Their weapons are crude. Why do we fear a name? No one answered him. Dehan listened from the edge of the room. He had heard these words many times. He did not interrupt. Humans rarely corrected misunderstandings unless correction was useful. Instead, Hannah Lee requested the floor. She appeared as a small figure among towering alien forms. Her voice was calm but firm. "You measure threat by scale," she said. "Humans measure threat by memory." Several delegates shifted. "Explain," the chair being requested. "Humans survived on a hostile world. Hannah said. Predators, weather, disease. We learned early that not every danger should be fought directly. Some dangers must be avoided. Others must be ended completely. And Baba Yaga? The Varan analyst asked. Hannah paused. That name does not mean attack. It means conclusion. The room grew quiet, she continued. When humans name something after a nightmare, it is not to scare others. It is to remind themselves what they are willing to become if pushed far enough. The coalition ended the session with no clear decision. But something had changed. More eyes watched human space. More systems tracked minor events. The fear was no longer dismissed. On a human research platform near the edge of mapped territory, Jin SEO reviewed incoming data. He was a strategist, not a commander. His role was to see connections others missed. The anomalies matched older projections. The curve. The gaps. The silence. Baba Yaga was not reacting. She was already moving. Jin sent a short report to Earth Command. It contained no emotional language, just facts. Probability of deterrent success. High. Probability of total engagement. Unacceptable. Recommendation. Approval came quickly. No celebration followed. Jin prepared the transmission himself. It was not encrypted in the usual way. It was meant to be seen across the galaxy. Long-range relays activated. Screens lit up in command centers, trade hubs, and neutral stations. The message appeared everywhere at once. It contained no symbol, no flag, only coordinates. A time and one sentence. You were warned. Confusion spread first, then anger. Some leaders demanded explanations. Others accused humanity of bluffing. A dominant empire at the edge of coalition influence laughed openly. Their fleets were large, their shields strong. They had broken smaller powers without consequence. They decided to test the warning at the appointed time. Nothing happened. Minutes passed, then a mining colony at the given coordinates went. Silent. No explosion, no debris, just absence. Rescue ships arrived hours later. The structures were intact. Power was on. Food was warm. The people were gone. Scans showed no trace of boarding, no weapon discharge. No energy spike. The Empire sealed the reports. 3 cycles later, a military outpost vanished the same way. This time, there were witnesses. A patrol ship reported a shadow where no mass should exist. Space bent strangely around it, like light passing through thick glass. The ship's systems failed one by one. When power returned, the outpost was gone. The patrol ship fled. The report leaked. Fear finally reached the public layers of the galaxy. Trade slowed. Borders tightened. Messages flooded coalition channels. What is happening? Is this human aggression? Can this be stopped? Dehan addressed the council once more. This is not an attack, he said. It is a correction. Correction for what? Someone demanded. For believing we would repeat ourselves, Dehan replied. Hannah Lee watched faces change. The fear was no longer abstract. It was personal. That was when understanding began. She shared a final record. A human phrase, old and simple. Do not make us choose. Far from the council, Baba Yaga continued her path. No one saw her. No one heard her. But systems failed where she passed. Fleets turned away without knowing why. Plans fell apart. She did not chase. She waited, and the galaxy learned that. Waiting could be worse than fire. The empire that chose to test the warning did not admit fear. Its leaders spoke with strong voices and hard words. They told their people that the missing colonies were accidents, internal failures, or lies made by human agents. Pride was important to them. Pride kept their rules stable. But inside their command halls, the silence grew heavy. Fleet admirals reviewed maps again and again. They searched for enemy paths, supply lines, and staging zones. They found nothing. No mass readings. No heat trails. No jump signatures. It was as if space itself had decided to swallow their assets. One admiral finally said what the others feared. This is not warfare as we know it. They ordered a full military response. 3 battle groups were sent toward human border space. The movement was loud and visible. Thousands of ships, shields raised, weapons armed. The Empire wanted the galaxy to see its strength. The Coalition watched with growing alarm. Hannah at least stood beside Dehan as the fleet movements appeared on the main display. Lines of light crossed the star map, like spreading cracks. They are forcing the issue, she said quietly. Dehan nodded. Yes, will Baba Yaga stop them? She already has, he replied. Hannah did not argue, but she did not fully understand. Yet, the first battle group never reached its destination. Halfway through its jump sequence, every ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the same time. This alone was impossible. Coordinated failure on that scale had never been recorded. The ships drifted in empty space. Power systems worked. Life support worked. Weapons worked, but navigation did not. Every star looked wrong. Distance readings conflicted. Timestamps disagreed. Signals sent between ships arrived before they were transmitted. Panic began to spread. The fleet commander ordered a retreat. No ship moved. Then, without warning, the lead carrier vanished. Not destroyed, gone. Sensors showed nothing. Space folded inward for a brief moment, like a breath being held, then released. Crew members screamed. Orders overlapped. Discipline collapsed, one by one. Ships disappeared. No explosions marked their passing. No debris followed. Just silence. The second battle group turned back as soon as the first reports arrived. Their retreat was immediate and disorderly. Pride shattered into survival instinct. The third never launched. Across the galaxy, fear deepened into something colder. This was no longer rumor or theory. It was proof. Coalition scientists gathered emergency sessions. They argued over physics models and unknown dimensions. Some claimed humans had found a way to weaponize space itself. Others believed it was artificial intelligence beyond control. Urakim listened to these debates from a human engineering lab. She shook her head slowly. They are asking the wrong questions, she said. A junior researcher looked at her. Then what is the right question? Ura paused. Why would humans build something like this in the first place? She pulled up old human conflict records. Wars that ended only after terrible cost. Battles where victory still felt like failure. We built Baba Yaga because we got tired of winning the wrong way. Ura said. She sent a brief clarification to the Coalition. Baba Yaga is not controlled like a weapon. She is tasked like a rule. Break this line. And she appears. Meanwhile, Jin Essio observed the collapse of the Empire's advance from a quiet room. He felt no joy, only relief that the warning had worked. Still, his models showed risk fear could spread in. Dangerous ways some powers might unite against. Humanity out of desperation, others might try to copy what they did not understand. He prepared another report. Risk of misunderstanding. Severe recommendation. Silence. Earth Command agreed. Human space went quiet. No speeches, no threats, no explanations. The silence unsettled the galaxy more than any message in the Empire's core systems. Protests began. Citizens demanded answers. Families asked where their fleets had gone. Leaders responded with force. But the fear had already spread. They sent a private message to the Coalition. We withdraw. We ask for mediation. We ask that the human response cease. The Coalition forwarded the message. Dehan read it. Once, he did not reply. Far beyond charts and maps, Baba Yaga slowed her movement. Her task was nearly complete. She did not seek destruction, only correction. She observed systems from a distance, watched power balances shift, waited for intent to fade. She had no hatred, only purpose. Hannah Lee recorded a final note in her personal archive. The Galaxy believed humans were dangerous because of what they could do. They were wrong. Humans were dangerous because they knew when to stop. As trade routes slowly reopened and fleets stood down, a new rule settled into galactic thought. Do not force humanity to decide, because if they do, they will choose certainty, and certainty has a name. The galaxy did not return to normal after the withdrawal. Trade resumed, fleets stood down, and borders reopened, but something had shifted beneath all of it. Trust was thinner. Silence felt louder. Every system scan carried a question that no one wanted to ask out loud. What if she was still watching? In coalition space, emergency committees became permanent. Analysts no longer argued about whether Baba Yaga existed. They argued about what she would do next. Some believed the danger had passed. The Empire had retreated. Humanity had gone quiet. That should have been the end. Others were not so sure. Rilton, the junior analyst who had first noticed the name, had not slept properly in many cycles. He worked longer hours now, driven by a sense that the story was not finished. Patterns still appeared in the data. Small ones. Easy to ignore, he did not ignore them. Long-range sensors showed brief distortions far from any known route. Not failures. Not noise. Something more careful, as if space itself was being tested gently. In different places, RIL-10 compiled the information and sent it up the chain. This time, it reached the highest level. A closed council session was called. No observers. No public record. Daehan attended again. So did Hannah Lee and Yura Kim. Genesio joined remotely from Earth, the chair being spoke first. Our experts believe Baba Yaga has completed her task. Yet our instruments suggest continued activity. Explain. Genesio answered, You are seeing calibration. Several delegates reacted at once. Calibration for what? For absence, Jin said. The room fell quiet. Yurakim leaned forward. Baba Yaga is not just deployed, she said. She must also withdraw. That process is not simple. Withdraw where? A delegate asked. Yura hesitated. Somewhere unreachable. That answer unsettled. Many Hannah Lee spoke next. Humans do not build tools they cannot put away. Baba Yaga was designed to leave as cleanly as she arrives. If she does not, the chair being asked. Daehan answered calmly. Then humanity has failed. The honesty in his voice frightened them more than any threat. Outside coalition space, smaller powers reacted in different ways. Some rushed to strengthen defenses. Others sent quiet messages to human diplomats, offering cooperation, trade, or apology for past actions. Human responses were polite, brief, and neutral. No one mentioned Baba Yaga on a remote observation station. A non-aligned scientist named Esho watched the stars bend for a fraction of a second. He replayed the recording again and again. The distortion was subtle, but real. This is not a weapon, he whispered to himself. This is a boundary. He sent his findings into open scientific channels. The message spread quickly. Debate exploded across the galaxy. Was Baba Yaga a guardian? A prison? A warning system? Some claimed humans had found a way to rewrite reality. Others argued it was simply advanced engineering. Misunderstood and feared, but one idea gained quiet support. Baba Yaga was not meant to fight wars. She was meant to prevent them. On Earth, Genesio walked through a memorial hall filled with names. Soldiers, civilians, entire cities, lost in earlier conflicts. He stopped before one wall and placed his hand against it. We remembered, he said softly. That memory was why Baba Yaga existed. Not to punish others, but to spare themselves in deep space. Baba Yaga slowed further. Her systems adjusted. Her presence folded inward. The path she had marked began to fade. She evaluated intent, not action. Aggression had dropped below threshold. Risk curves flattened. The rule was satisfied. Still, she waited, because humans knew better than anyone that peace was fragile in the coalition chamber. The chair being made a final statement for the closed record. From this cycle forward, humanity will be classified as a self-regulating deterrent. Power, no one objected. The galaxy had learned something. Important power could shout, or it could whisper, and whispers could travel. Farther far from the eyes of all civilizations, Baba Yaga prepared to disappear. But even as her shadow faded, the fear she left behind did not. It settled into law, into planning, into memory. And the galaxy understood that some names were not meant to be spoken twice. The message did not come through official channels. There was no council seal, no priority marker, and no formal greeting. It appeared in human diplomatic space like a quiet knock on a closed door. Sun Park read it alone. He was a diplomat by training, but his real task was translation. Not of language, but of intent. He read the message 3 times, before responding. We request terms. We acknowledge error. We ask how to make this stop. The sender was not the empire that had withdrawn. It was older, smaller, smarter. A civilization that had survived by watching others fall. Sun leaned back and closed his eyes. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. He forwarded the message to Earth Command with a single note. They are afraid enough to listen. Permission to speak. Approval. Arrived within minutes, Sun did not threaten. Them he did not explain Baba Yaga. He did not justify human actions. His reply was short. There are no terms, there is only distance due. Not cross it. The response stunned its recipients. They had expected negotiation, demands, or punishment. Instead, they received a boundary. Across the galaxy, other messages followed. Some were formal, some desperate, some angry. Humans answered all of them the same way. No speeches, no demonstrations, just clarity. Hannah Lee watched the exchanges with careful eyes. She saw something rare forming. Restraint for the first time in known galactic history. Power was choosing not to expand. Coalition leaders debated this shift late into their cycles. Some feared humanity was hiding a larger plan. Others believed this was temporary. But the data showed consistency. Human fleets did not advance. Human borders did not grow. Human technology was not shared or sold. Baba Yaga remained unmentioned. That absence spoke louder than any declaration. In hidden corners of space, those who had once planned war dismantled their preparations. Weapon projects were shelved, invasion routes erased, not because of treaties, but because of memory. They remembered ships vanishing. They remembered silence. They remembered the warning. On a distant academic world, students studied the events as a turning point. They argued over definitions. Was Baba Yaga a weapon? A doctrine? A myth made real? One student wrote a simple conclusion. Humans created fear that did not need to be used again. Meanwhile, Baba Yaga reached the final phase of her task. Her systems reduced activity further. Her footprint in space narrowed. To almost nothing, she did not sleep. She waited because the rule remained. Active Jin SEO monitored her status from Earth. His models showed stability across multiple regions. Aggression indicators fell below historic averages. For the first time, the galaxy was quiet. That quiet felt dangerous. He sent one final internal note. Maintain. Readiness never assume peace is permanent. Yura. Kim stood beside the containment displays that no one else fully understood. She watched values approach 0. She will be gone soon, she said. Gone where? A colleague asked. Yura did not answer, because even humans were not meant to. No Sun Park received one last message before the cycle ended. Thank you for stopping. He stared at the words for a long time, then he replied, We did not stop, you did, in the coalition chamber. The chair being added a final note to the private record. Humanity has demonstrated the use of fear without conquest. This changes everything, far beyond observation. Baba Yaga folded herself inward. The distortions faded. The paths vanished. Space returned to its familiar shape. Only one thing remained: the knowledge that if the line was crossed again, she would return and no warning would be given. The galaxy learned how to live with fear. It was not the loud kind. There were no sirens or emergency alerts. It was quiet and steady, like gravity. Every decision now carried weight. Every plan paused before crossing a line that no one had written down. But everyone understood. Military academies rewrote their lessons. Old theories about dominance and expansion were removed or softened. New sections appeared instead. Risk of human response? Unpredictable. Outcome: do not escalate. Young officers studied battle maps that ended in blank space. Their instructors did not explain those blanks. They did not need to. In coalition space, laws changed without formal votes. Border tensions cooled. Long wars slowed, then stopped. Not because of peace talks, but because escalation felt dangerous in a way never had before. Fear became a stabilizing force. Some welcomed it, others hated it. A small but determined group of powers met in secret. They believed the galaxy had bowed to Isoli. They believed humanity's silence was weakness. "We cannot allow one species to decide the future," their leader said. They called themselves Restorers. Their plan was simple: find Baba Yaga, prove she could be tracked, blocked, or destroyed. If fear was the weapon, then removing its source would restore balance. They gathered resources quietly. Scientists, spies, and ships moved under false flags. Long-range sensors were adjusted to search for distortions. No one else dared to study too closely. They found something: a faint irregularity at the edge of observable space. Not active. Not moving, waiting. The Restorers convinced themselves it was a weakness. They sent a probe. The probe crossed the boundary. It transmitted data for exactly 3 seconds. Then it stopped. No explosion. No damage report, just silence, the Restorers argued. Some wanted to stop. Others pushed harder. "This proves she is still there," one said. "She can be found." They prepared a second attempt. Before it launched, every screen in their command center turned black. A single line of text appeared: "This is not a warning." The message vanished. The command center lost power. Ships failed to start. Records corrupted. The Restorers did not disappear, but their ambition did. They sent no more messages in human space. No one celebrated. Genesio reviewed the incident report with a tired expression. "Minimal correction," he noted. "Was that Baba Yaga?" a junior officer asked. Jin nodded. A glance, and if they had continued. Jin did not answer. Hannah Lee added the event to her archive. She did not describe it as a battle. She called it reinforcement, because that was what it was. Across the galaxy, the lesson spread faster than the facts. You did not need to attack humans to lose. You only needed to try removing their restraint. Sun Park attended a rare open forum. Leaders spoke honestly for once. "We are afraid," one admitted. Sun nodded. "So are we." That answer surprised them. "Fear keeps us careful," Sun continued. "It always has." The forum ended without applause. On Earth, Yurakim watched Baba Yaga's final readings approach null. The values were so small, they were almost meaningless. "She is leaving our space entirely," Yura said. "Can she return?" someone asked. Yura nodded. "If the rule is broken, and if it is never broken?" Ura allowed herself a small smile. "Then she becomes a story." That idea spread quietly. A story. A warning passed between generations. Do not test what does not threaten. Do not wake what chooses to sleep. In the coalition chamber, the chair being issued a final internal assessment. Humanity has achieved deterrence without occupation. Probability of direct conflict has fallen to historic lows. Fear remains, but so does stability, far beyond charts and sensors. Baba Yaga completed her withdrawal. Her presence slipped outside known dimensions. Beyond reach and record, she left no trace, only memory, and memory was enough. Because the galaxy now knew. That peace was not kept by strength alone. It was kept by the knowledge of what would happen if strength was ever used again. Time passed not quickly, and not all at once. It moved the way it always had, but the galaxy felt different as it moved. Systems grew used to the quiet. Trade routes stabilized. Borders held. Old enemies learned how to speak without shouting. The fear did not disappear. It settled. Children born after the event grew up, hearing the stories. Not dramatic ones. Not heroic tales. Simple warnings spoken in calm voices. There was a time when the galaxy almost burned. There was a time when humans chose not to fight. There was a name you did not say, unless you meant it. Baba Yaga. Hannah Lee was older now. She continued her work as a historian, but her focus had changed. She no longer chased events as they happened. She studied what remained after memory. She noticed how often Baba Yaga appeared in quiet places, in footnotes, in pauses during debate, in the way leaders stopped mid-sentence and chose different words. Fear had become culture. Day. Han retired from formal service without ceremony. There was no farewell speech. No public recognition. He returned to a quiet life far from political centers. When asked once if he regretted anything, he gave a simple answer. No, because the warning had worked. Jin Seo continued to monitor long-term stability models. Year after year, his predictions held. Large-scale war remained unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. That distinction mattered. He taught new analysts one lesson above all others. Never assume peace is permanent. He said, but never forget why it exists. Yurakim eventually left the secure facilities behind. Her work was finished. Baba Yaga no longer needed a guardian. She was never ours to keep, Yura said during her final report. Only ours to release. Sun Park remained in diplomacy until the end of his career. He became known not for treaties, but for restraint. Other species trusted him because he never pushed. When asked why humans refused to lead the galaxy, he answered simply, because leadership invites challenge. Humanity had no desire to be tested again. In distant systems, new powers rose. Technology advanced. Old wounds faded. The galaxy did not become perfect, but it became careful. Every few cycles, a rumor would spread, a sensor glitch, a strange shadow, a ship that arrived too early. The rumors always faded. No proof ever followed. Most believed. Baba Yaga was gone forever. Some believe she waited. Human records never confirmed either, in the Coalition archives. The final classification remained unchanged. Baba Yaga. Inactive. Not destroyed. Not dismantled. Inactive Hannah. Lee wrote the closing entry of her life's work. As many years later, she did not describe weapons or battles. She wrote about choice, about a species that learned its greatest strength was not force, but refusal to conquer, refusal to dominate, refusal to repeat. History, her final line was simple. The galaxy survived because humanity chose restraint over victory, far beyond known space. Beyond measurement and memory, something remained folded into silence. It did not move. It did not watch. It waited not for fear, not for anger, but for a broken rule. And as long as that rule held, the galaxy would never hear her name spoken again. The galaxy believed the story was over. That belief lasted for many cycles. Peace had become routine. Not perfect, not gentle, but predictable. Disputes rose and fell without turning into wars. Fleets still existed, but they moved less. Weapons were still built, but rarely tested. Every civilization had learned to pause before crossing a line that no one could see. But everyone felt. Baba Yaga faded into history. She became a lesson taught in quiet tones, a warning shared without details. Many younger leaders believed she had never been real at all. They said fear had exaggerated the past. They said the galaxy had grown stronger. They were not wrong, they were just incomplete on a distant fringe system. Far from coalition centers, a newly risen power began to expand. Its leaders were young. Its technology was fast and efficient. It had no memory of loss, no scars from old wars. They studied the archives and dismissed the stories. There is no proof, their council said. Only myths in empty space. They pushed outward. At first, nothing happened. Borders shifted. Minor systems were absorbed. Neighbors protested, then gave way. The expansion was clean, quick, and bloodless. Confidence grew. One of their scouts crossed an old human marker. The marker had no warning symbols, no weapons, no guards. Just silence. The scout did not return. The loss was explained away as failure or accident. The expansion continued. On Earth, Jin Seo noticed a change in long-term projections, a small curve where there should have been none. He reviewed the data twice, then a third time. "This is not random," he said. Hannah Lee was gone by then, her work complete, her record sealed. But her words remained. Jin opened her final archive and read the old warning. Again, some lessons must be learned more than once. Jin sent a single internal. Report. Threshold approaching. No urgency code followed. None. Was needed in human space. Systems shifted quietly. No fleets moved. No orders were broadcast. Yet something changed, subtle and precise, far beyond known space. Where measurement failed and language broke down, something unfolded, not quickly, not violently, carefully. Baba Yaga did not awaken, she resumed. Her presence did not announce itself. Space bent softly around her, as if remembering a familiar shape. Paths reopened that had long been closed. She observed. The expanding power felt at first as confusion. Ships misaligned by seconds. Signals arrived slightly wrong. Navigation errors increased. They adjusted. The errors continued. Then a colony went silent. No damage, no warning, just absence. Panic followed. Leaders demanded answers. Scientists searched for causes. Military commanders prepared defenses. No enemy appeared, only silence. A single message reached their core system. No signature, no symbol, just one sentence. You crossed it, across the galaxy. Older civilizations understood immediately. Fleets halted. Borders froze. Messages were sent and unsent. Fear returned, but this time it was familiar. On Earth, Sun Park read the reports with a heavy expression. "They never asked," he said. "They never do," Jin replied. Baba Yaga moved only as much as needed. One system corrected. One path erased. No pursuit followed. The expanding power withdrew within a single cycle. Apologies followed, then silence. The galaxy exhaled. Once again, the war had ended before it began. This time, no council meeting followed. No debate. No doubt. The rule had proven itself again. Baba Yaga slowed. Her work was done. She folded back into absence, leaving behind no trace but certainty. Across the galaxy, the story changed. It was no longer about humans. It was about choice, about lines that existed, even when unseen, and about what happened when someone forgot why they were there, far beyond sight. Baba Yaga waited once, more patient, silent, certain. The galaxy believed the story was over. That belief lasted for many cycles. Peace had become routine. Not perfect, not gentle, but predictable. Disputes rose and fell without turning into wars. Fleets still existed, but they moved less. Weapons were still built, but rarely tested. Every civilization had learned to pause before crossing a line that no one could see. But everyone felt. Baba Yaga faded into history. She became a lesson taught in quiet tones, a warning shared without details. Many younger leaders believed she had never been real at all. They said fear had exaggerated the past. They said the galaxy had grown stronger. They were not wrong, they were just incomplete on a distant fringe system. Far from coalition centers, a newly risen power began to expand. Its leaders were young. Its technology was fast and efficient. It had no memory of loss, no scars from old wars. They studied the archives and dismissed the stories. There is no proof, their council said. Only myths and empty space. They pushed outward. At first, nothing happened. Borders shifted. Minor systems were absorbed. Neighbors protested, then gave way. The expansion was clean, quick, and bloodless. Confidence grew. One of their scouts crossed an old human marker. The marker had no warning symbols, no weapons, no guards. Just silence. The scout did not return. The loss was explained away as failure or accident. The expansion continued. On Earth, Jin Seo noticed a change in long-term projections, a small curve where there should have been none. He reviewed the data twice, then a third time. "This is not random," he said. Hannah Lee was gone by then, her work complete, her record sealed. But her words remained. Jin opened her final archive and read the old warning. Again, some lessons must be learned more than once. Jin sent a single internal. Report. Threshold approaching. No urgency code followed. None. Was needed in human space. Systems shifted quietly. No fleets moved. No orders were broadcast. Yet something changed, subtle and precise, far beyond known space. Where measurement failed and language broke down, something unfolded, not quickly, not violently, carefully. Baba Yaga did not awaken, she resumed. Her presence did not announce itself. Space bent softly around her, as if remembering a familiar shape. Paths reopened that had long been closed. She observed. The expanding power felt at first as confusion. Ships misaligned by seconds. Signals arrived slightly wrong. Navigation errors increased. They adjusted. The errors continued. Then a colony went silent. No damage, no warning, just absence. Panic followed. Leaders demanded answers. Scientists searched for causes. Military commanders prepared defenses. No enemy appeared, only silence. A single message reached their core system. No signature. No symbol. Just one sentence. You crossed it. Across the galaxy, older civilizations understood immediately. Fleets halted. Borders froze. Messages were sent and unsent. Fear returned. But this time, it was familiar. On Earth, Sun Park read the reports with a heavy expression. "They never asked," he said. "They never do," Jin replied. Baba Yaga moved only as much as needed. One system corrected. One path erased. No pursuit followed. The expanding power withdrew within a single cycle. Apologies followed, then silence. The galaxy exhaled once again. War had ended before it began. This time, no council meeting followed. No debate. No doubt, the rule had proven itself again. Baba Yaga slowed. Her work was done. She folded back into absence, leaving behind no trace but certainty. Across the galaxy, the story changed. It was no longer about humans. It was about choice, about lines that existed, even when unseen, and about what happened when someone forgot why they were there. Far beyond sight, Baba Yaga waited once more, patient, silent, certain.